I'm not going to back off from the prediction I made in 2020. I think we'll have cent parity, which means $1 million a coin in 2030.
$1 million a coin?
I should say by 2030. I think we'll touch $1 million a coin by 2030. I don't know if it'll be in 2030. It might happen in 2029, and then you'll see a pullback or something like that. But I think we'll see $1 million a coin this decade.
And what needs to happen to get there?
By 2035, you'll be able to buy most goods and services in most places around the world denominated in Bitcoin.
Cory offers a cautiously optimistic prediction for Bitcoin's short-term trajectory, suggesting a potential climb to $75,000 before the end of 2024. However, he tempers this optimism by noting that if this rise spills over into the first quarter of 2025, it shouldn't be considered a negative signal. The critical point he makes is that Bitcoin should not be viewed as a short-term speculative asset, but as a long-term investment. He reaffirms his 2020 prediction of Bitcoin reaching parity with the S&P 500 and ultimately hitting the $1 million mark by 2030. According to Klippsten, this kind of long-term growth is less dependent on immediate catalysts and more about Bitcoin's increasing adoption as a global monetary asset. Klippsten is firm in his belief that Bitcoin does not need a marketing campaign. Rather, education and awareness are key. By 2035, he envisions Bitcoin being widely accepted as a currency for purchasing goods and services across the globe. Please take a little time to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. You can also check out our other videos on cryptocurrencies and the overall digital asset space and drop your comments and observations in the comments section below. Everything you do helps with the YouTube algorithm and immensely contributes to the channel's growth. Thanks and enjoy the video.
You know, it does look like we are expecting a rate cut here in September, and whether that's just the Fed sort of asserting that they can still do such things and the economy is in a position to be able to handle that sort of thing is for others to break down, but it does look like we're getting one. My expectation is that will be probably the only one, so I don't think this is going to start a rate cutting cycle, and I think that we'll probably end up staying flat the rest of the year. So we will see. I do think there's been a history of once elections are in the rear view and people know what they're going to get for the next 4 years, at least to some degree, there's a bit of, okay, now I can sort of settle the bets that I've had on for the last 6 months or the last 12 months. And now I can sort of place my new ones and sort of understand what the protocol is going to be going forward. So I think that's probably net good for Bitcoin. On top of the cycles, obviously, that we've seen with bull markets in 2013, 2017, 2021, related to the Bitcoin halving, probably. Until we stop seeing cycles, I kind of have to believe in them and have to plan for them. So that's what I expect to see on the Bitcoin side. If you're kind of looking at a macro picture, it seems like presidential elections kind of coincide with money printing after somebody gets elected, no matter which party it is. And that tends to be pretty good for Bitcoin price development as well. Yeah, if I were placing an even money bet, I would say that we'll see 75K before December 31st. So another 20K up from here. But it wouldn't be a big deal if that was delayed into Q1. And, you know, I'm certainly not saying that you need to plow all your money into Bitcoin right now, because it's definitely going up. As you know, I very much am a proponent of buying it for the long term and thinking about 5 and 10 year holding periods for this asset. I'm not going to back off from the prediction I made in 2020. I think we'll have cent parity, which means $1 million a coin in 2030.
$1 million a coin?
I should say by 2030. I think we'll touch $1 million a coin by 2030. I don't know if it'll be in 2030. It might happen in 2029, and then you'll see a pullback or something like that. But I think we'll see $1 million a coin this decade.
And what needs to happen to get there?
More education. You don't need to market Bitcoin. You just need to help people understand it.
But what needs to happen to the world, to the global economy? I mean, usually that would coincide with potentially, you know, some bad, if you will, development.
Look, volatility is good for Bitcoin because it gets people to take a look at it. So, you know, and it's like If there are crises, it's good for Bitcoin. If there's more liquidity and assets are going up, it's good for Bitcoin. It's this thing that it doesn't need any external catalyst other than continued growth and adoption to grow. By 2035, you'll be able to buy most goods and services in most places around the world denominated in Bitcoin. And what I was thinking about is you'd probably still have multiple price tags. So it's kind of like going to the airport and, they have it in yen and euros and dollars and pounds or something like that. And I think Bitcoin will be right there, and that you'll see things priced in Bitcoin. You'll certainly be able to pay for them in Bitcoin, even if it's priced in other things. You can do that today. That's already abstracted away by apps and crypto and Bitcoin debit cards and things like that. But I do think you'll start to see enough price stability where people are actually able to price in Bitcoin, especially with so many prices going digital and so much online shopping happening. I think you'll start to see by the middle of next decade, 10 years from now, I think you'll see Bitcoin prices all over the place. And I don't think you'll see gold prices anywhere. So look, I think we Bitcoiners and we friends of gold have generally identified the same problem. I think it's just a matter of sort of placing good bets on what you think the solution is going to be and what you think the market will adopt as the solution. I do think that it's going to be a good, decade going forward for gold price. I don't think it's the fastest horse. I think Bitcoin will go up a lot more than gold. I do congratulate gold holding friends for matching the inflation adjusted all-time high from the early 80s of 2,500. So it's good to be back to par after 40 years. So congratulations.
I'm picking up some sarcasm there, Cory. Just a little.
Well, whatever. Like it's the same for us, right? So we're nowhere close to if you actually look at monetary inflation and how much money's been printed since 2021, it's the all-time high in real dollars in 2021 dollars is not 69K. The yardstick is moving, right? So I think we've got to be in the low 80s at least before I consider it a real new Bitcoin all-time high. We can't measure these things in a measuring stick that is shifting and shifting the goalpost. So I think it is intellectually honest to kind of think about what the inflation adjusted returns have been for any asset. And what we've seen with any cohort of former S&P 500 stocks. Again, there's bias in the index because it's survivors only. But like stocks do pretty poorly against monetary inflation. They generally don't keep up. The indices pretty much do keep up with monetary inflation almost in lockstep since 2008, since the global financial crisis. Basically, all of the gains in the stock market are just based on the amount of money that's been printed. So, you do really need to watch your measuring stick. As far as gold, look, what I think will inevitably happen, and so basically you're just probability weighting when it will happen, they're both better than holding dollars. At some point, Bitcoin will be recognized by the market as doing a better job of solving the problem than gold. And at that point, you will start to see Bitcoin actually take share from gold. So I'd see gold rising as a percentage of global store of value assets, over some period of time. In my view, I for my gold holding friends and many clients of Swan who also hold gold, I hope that's another 10 to 15 years for you guys. But I do think at some point, somewhere between 2035, 2040, something like that, you're going to see a shift, and you will probably see a dramatic vacuuming, I drink your milkshake vibe of Bitcoin taking market share from gold.
Klippsten explores how different administrations could impact the ecosystem. He believes a Republican administration might be more favorable for Bitcoin, given its tendency to promote lighter touch regulations and broader acceptance of crypto assets. However, he is cautious, noting that this could also give rise to more speculative, scammy crypto projects, which could detract from Bitcoin's reputation. Conversely, a Democrat-led government might draw clearer lines between Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, but could introduce more restrictive banking regulations, complicating Bitcoin's integration with the traditional financial system.
in the sentence where somebody says that correlation is currently higher than it's been is kind of all you need to know. It bounces around. So Bitcoin can trade sort of in lockstep with NASDAQ stocks for short periods of time. But in the long run, this is a secular trend that's orthogonal to what's going on in stock markets. It is affected in the short term by liquidity. But overall, what we're just seeing is the adoption of a new monetary asset that's going to take decades to happen. And it's going to go up regardless of what's happening in other markets. And that's what's kind of special about Bitcoin. It is uncorrelated as a growth story to everything else in every other asset class. Yeah, so I'd say the first order effects is that you would probably see, on balance, a better reaction for Bitcoin price with the Republicans winning versus the Democrats, but it's very unclear what the second order effects of that would be. And that's something that we can't really know in advance and obviously can't even know in hindsight, because you only have one version of history and can't tell which would be better, which party to have in power would be better. So it's a really tough one. I think there are good things that happen. I think, sort of the predilection of Trump and that clan to sort of pile into scammy things in the crypto space and kind of promote those things and meme coins and obviously like a lighter touch. And I think you'll probably see like a big explosion of crypto gambling and sort of crypto taking its rightful place next to FanDuel and DraftKings and Vegas and Macau. And probably be sort of allowed to flourish in that way under a Republican administration. And, that is interesting because it lets Bitcoin sort of be protected by this outer layer of crypto activity that will be sort of given a wider berth to function. But also crypto competes with Bitcoin for marketing exposure and sort of top of funnel, and has a history, a long sordid history of fooling people into buying these shiny, scammy objects instead of Bitcoin. So it's typically been pretty bad for Bitcoin. So it kind of works in both directions. And sort of the Democrats coming into power, I would say would roughly be the opposite of that. It would be kind of like better for the distinction of Bitcoin versus crypto, but probably overall, at least while they're in power, sort of negative for banking relationships for Bitcoin and for crypto. And, potentially some onerous regulations with regards to how the fiat system connects to Bitcoin.
Cory Klippsten's analysis paints a detailed picture of Bitcoin's future, grounded in both macroeconomic trends and long-term adoption potential. His confidence in Bitcoin's growth trajectory is unwavering, whether driven by global financial instability, increased liquidity, or simply the cyclical nature of halving events. While he acknowledges the challenges that lie ahead, both political and economic, Klippsten sees Bitcoin as the superior asset in a world increasingly shaped by inflation and monetary policy missteps. He advises a long-term approach to Bitcoin investing, one that looks beyond short-term volatility and focuses on the asset's potential to reshape the global financial landscape by 2030 and beyond. Please like and subscribe my channel.